Ahem. So, about the time I started YouTube, I moved a shed from my backyard over to the side yard south of my garage. And I used an axle that my uncle had made just for the purpose of moving sheds. And then I kind of had to build a tongue from there, and I did it. I don't have a lot of the materials. I could still get the axle, but I don't have any materials to make the tongue, so I had to come up with some way to move the shed back to the backyard because I'm making way for bigger and better things. Period. So I asked around and I asked around. I've got connections, but not any good ones. So I thought, okay, one way or another, I've got to get this shed moved back to the backyard. I wanted to put it exactly where it was before, but without getting a rollback in there or a really big forklift, it wasn't going to happen. So I decided to load that thing up on my trailer. That's how we got the church one hauled over. That one is a 8x8. Mine's like a 8.5 by 12.5, something like that. So that's what this video is about. And I'm throwing in my neighbors. They had theirs done a couple of days prior to me moving mine. But on this particular day, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to get started. If it happens, it happens. If not, oh well. At least I will have tried. So, anyway, here we go. This fella here is one of the family members that owns the Kaza Sugar Bush. And we recognized him right away. Went out and talked with him. He recognized us. And I had asked him to come over and look at my shed. I think I mentioned that later on in the video. And he wasn't able to move it. But anyway, that's who he is. He told us that the people that ordered this monster is going to make it into a living space for an Airbnb. He's also the owner-operator of that big rig and trailer and business. Okay, well, I want this back there, preferably back there, where it was when we moved in. I don't know how I'll ever get it there, but I could put it behind the trailer on the right, not behind it, but right where it's at, because there is a pine tree there that I can use a come along to pull it back in there. So it looks like it might live there, which is okay. So the neighbors had that delivered yesterday. I asked the truck driver if he could move this to the back for a fee. He came over here and felt underneath there, and this is like the old style construction. All there is 4x4 posts running lengthwise. There's nothing going across for his machine to grab onto it, so he wasn't able to do it. I exhausted all my resources, people that I know, The closest shot I have is a guy at the hardware store has someone, a family member that works at a towing place down the road, and they've got a rollback. Well, it just so happens that I found part of one of their tow truck pieces. It's the thing that when they lower to go get your car, they lower it. This part goes up against the tire, and then there's a thing that wraps around the tire and they lift it up. Well, this whole thing was laying in the road, and it was heavy. Me and Ronnie picked it up and put it in the back of the Blazer last year. And I looked around until I found a tow truck that matched it, and it just so happens that it belonged to them. So they were glad to get it back. So I told the guy at the hardware store, why don't you go down there and say, hey, remember that guy that returned your part? Why don't you do him a favor and move his shed? Wouldn't that be nice? But he'd never get the rollback right in here, so I'd have to get it facing that way anyway. Oh, we'll see. I'll get this up on blocks and then go talk to the guy and see if he was serious. Alright, here's what I have so far. The foot of this jack is going underneath these two 2x4s. I had only one 2x4 there to begin with, not strong enough. So I put another one across there, put these up here to connect to that. Two of those. And then this one in the middle. And what this one is a slide. Because when you're jacking this jack up, the top of it wants to go that way. So you have to have something for it to ride on. Normally it would be the doors, but the doors are in the way. I mean, you know, a wall, not the doors, but I don't remember what I did the very first time. So we gave it a shot. Well, there it sits. It's on the blocks on both sides. And I can remove the jack. What I'm thinking about doing is trying to slide my car hauler in there as far as I can, and when it stops, put the jack on top of the trailer, jack it up higher, basically until that thing's almost standing on end, and then block it farther back and then back the trailer in farther. And then sit back and decide, now what do I do? What a pickle. Well, here we are. Removed rear wheels. Now I'm going to put my jack up on here and get that jacked up. Move the blocks back farther. And then hopefully be able to move the shed all the way to just behind these tires. Here we go.
Yeah.
I needed all the weight at the front of that trailer I could get, so this shed wouldn't be digging into the grass as much. There were several times when I was making the turn from around the front of the garage that the back wheels actually came off the ground. I didn't think we were going to make it, but when I finally got around, it went pretty good.
Just about. Stop. Right here.
I want the back end of the shed to go that way.
Okay. Okay. It only went over just, tad.
Stop it. Then to finish up, I just did the reverse. I put the jack up on the trailer, jacked up to the shed, put blocks under there, and we had to pull ahead and do that two or three times until I was able to put the jack on the ground, and then finally remove the blocks and set the shed down. One last thing that I will do is I'll go pick up maybe 4 or 5 landscape timbers, jack the shed up and slide those underneath so that it has a nice fresh base to sit on. I did that with the other shed that's back there too. And that worked out pretty good. So, alright, well, that's the end of this video. And we'll catch you next time.